All right, welcome back to United in the States. It's been a minute, but it was a kind of a quiet news week for United in general. Obviously, just getting there. A lot of stuff going on. I got my man Kevin from Football or Soccer TV. Kevin,
Yo,
what's
what's up,
going
man?
on?
Nothing much, man. Just crazy stuff that we got to talk about. The news today and the FA Cup final tomorrow. I'm nervous. I'm sure you guys are very nervous too. But yeah, man, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure. And Mo, of course, from Classic Man United. Welcome
Yeah,
back, Mo. Been killing it on the channels this week and the last couple of weeks. Good to see that.
yeah.
What's going
Thank you.
on, man?
Yeah, you've been all right. Thank you so much for having me today as well. You've been as you said. There's been a lot going on, and I can't wait to get started.
For sure, for sure. So let's kick it off. I think the top topic of the week is obviously news that broke today. There was rumors. Demarcio was quoted in a random Italian fanzine or website. I don't know what it was. And then a little bit more concrete news came out today. A few sources are saying it, but the idea is win or lose tomorrow against City in the FA Cup, Ten Hag is out.
So,
What do you guys, think about this situation? The timing, whether it's the right decision or not. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let's start with you, Kevin. I know you got a lot to get off your chest right now. I can see it in your eyes.
I mean, it's been crazy. I guess like out of nowhere and stuff like that. Um, First off, I just want to say I think the reports that have been reported and everything are true because everything points to be true in my opinion because I feel like they've made their decision. They came in and I felt like they already knew what they were gonna do from the get go. It's and to me it's like I feel like some people are surprised, some people not. Like get the people who aren't surprised because like the fact that a new company comes in, like someone invests $3 billion and then they want to make changes, it's breaking news. It's not breaking news, like people do that all the time. And like if you look at what happened with Newcastle, you look at what happened with Chelsea, like these guys came in and they got rid of the managers that were there and they wanted to start fresh because they wanted to build something on a new vision that they want to create. So for me, it's not a surprise that he's gone. For me, I kind of expected it in a way. Um, of course, like this hasn't been official or released by the club or by any means, so it's not technically official. But I think that it's 100% correct. That we can talk about the timing in a bit. Of is it the right timing and all that. We can talk about that, but first I just want to talk about like the decision. I think it's the right decision. We've seen that this manager has broken records. We conceded like 83 goals this season. We finished below Chelsea and Newcastle, who've had injuries as well. Don't forget that Chelsea had 43 injuries and we had 45 injuries. We've been like quite on par with the injuries on, and they scored more goals. They scored like 23 or 28 more goals than us this season. And I can say some people won't say that this season is embarrassing, but for me, this season has been an embarrassing season for me as a fan. Seeing City win another Premier League, breaking another record, and they could possibly break another record tomorrow and do another straight double. And the fact that we're okay with that and we can say, you know what, let's just be patient. To me, like we're breaking the wrong records and they're breaking the right records right in front of our back gardens. You know what I mean? So for me as a fan, I think it was the right decision. Um, I'm happy that Ineos came with this decision, and as far as getting rid of him, I think it was 100% justified. I don't think anyone could say, oh, he's wrongly been sacked or he's been done wrong as far as him losing his job. I don't think people can say that because you can make an argument of, maybe why they might have make it, why they maybe might have wanted him to stay, but also why you wanted them to see them go. So it's like you can come up with valid arguments for me, and it's going to be a risk, right? Whether you keep him or not, it's going to be a risk, because if you keep him, you risk this season repeating again, and if you get rid of him, you also risk by bringing in a new manager and everything else. So either way, it's a risk. But for me, there's more of a risk keeping this manager in the job. Personally, that's what I feel. That's what I believe. And I expect Nina's making the decision. We can talk about the timing, because I don't think it was meant to be leaked. I don't think it was meant to be released. I think it was an accident, but it's still they still somehow made it, to the public, which is, in my opinion, I guess it wasn't expected, and maybe they underestimated, who they told, or whatever it is, right? But as far as the decision, I think it's the right one. And if they were waiting on one FA Cup game, if they were waiting on just one FA Cup game to see if this is the right manager, then that's the wrong way to approach it, because you have all the evidence in front of you. You have all the evidence that you've seen throughout the whole season. I'm sure that they assessed the whole season. They came in, they were there at the games during Chelsea, they were there at Coventry, they were there seeing like things with their own eyes. So I think it's the right decision. But the next question is, who we're gonna get next and all these things. But we can go more into that. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. But yeah, I don't know. I know you, Chris. I know you wanted to give him another shot and everything. Mo, I know you also wanted to maybe keep him for another year and all that. Maybe you can explain how you feel about this. But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think we can separate the timing from the right decision argument. I know you're always opinionated about this. Mo, like Kevin mentioned, you were open to, letting him complete his contract. I don't know if that was a realistic situation. Managers tend to not go into managing in the last year of their contract, just because, it almost cuts their legs out from under them if the players can be like, hey, look, you're not even going to be here next year. Like, we don't know. Why would I listen to you? I got a long-term contract. You don't. But, let me know what you think. Like, do you think this is the right decision?
No, for me,
regardless of time.
Yeah, for me, it's been a hard one. It's been a hard one, even though it's been a tough season. Supporting United, like, through thick and thin. We've been at Old Trafford during rainy, when it's sunny, still at Old Trafford behind this club. All we want to see is for United to get to the top, to compete with the likes of Man City, compete with the likes of Real Madrid, play in the Champions League, win the tournament, and not just to compete in it. Like we did in the Champions League, we're part of the Champions League, but we didn't get anything from the Champions League. All we want is to see United get to the top. But my problem is sacking Ten Hag at this time is the wrong time. And even though this season has been the worst season, we've conceded most goals in the league in 53 years. This season has been the season that we've conceded most goals. This season, out of 40 years, this season has been our worst season. We've had more losses in this season, 14 losses in this season than any other season. We finished the season with one goal. Yeah, I think we finished the season with one goal. It's been a tough one, but hey, we cannot forget the fact that we've had more injuries, as Kelvin was saying. We've had more injuries. We had 45 injuries this season, or 46 injuries this season. And looking at a combination of the centre back, it's something that has to do with luck. For me, if you ask me my opinion, I would say it's something that has to be with luck. Looking at Ten Hag, you cannot tell me Ten Hag is a bad manager within just one season, because we also saw what he did at Man United in this first season. We saw what he did at Ajax before he came to United. Looking at the managers that came since Alex Ferguson left, no manager has ever been at the club for the past 3 years, for 3 solid seasons. Any manager that comes leaves the club within 3 seasons. The manager that was there for a very long time was Mourinho, and he was sacked after 17 Premier League games at Old Trafford. David Moyes came to United at 1st July 2013, and he left on 22nd April 2014. We had what was the name? Louis van Gaal came in. We had Louis van Gaal from 14th July 2014-2015, and he left in 2016. And then we had Mourinho. Mourinho also left in 2019-2020 season. And then we had Ole Gunnar. Ole was there from 2018 to 2021, and then he left the club as well. He didn't finish his term. Do not forget, Ole Gunnar signed the contract. He didn't see the contract finish. And then we had Michael Carrick come in. Carrick could not finish. He didn't stay. He just manage the club for just 2 games or 3 games, and then he left. And then we had Ralf Ragnick as well. Ralf Ragnick also came to the club, and then he saw us finish the season. And then we had Ole Gunnar came in. What's the name? Ten Hag came in July 2022, and here we are again trying to get rid of Ten Hag to bring in another manager. How long are we going to go on this cycle? Can we not just stick with one manager, support him in thick and thin, just like Arsenal did with Mikel Arteta? When Arteta came, everything was not greener like it is now at the club. You had some part of the club, some supporters that wanted to get rid of Mikel Arteta when he came in. You had some part of the managers, some people in the backroom staff that were not happy with Ten Hag. I listened to a lot of like sports pundits here in the UK that were chastising what's the name, Mikel Arteta, that he wasn't the right man for us now. He had no experience before coming to us now. He has never managed any Premier League side before coming to us now. He's only been an assistant manager for Pep Guardiola. But now look at him now. He's competing head-to-head with Pep Guardiola. Last season, Pep won the league with 89 points. And this season, Arsenal with Mikel Arteta finished second on the table with 89 points. That's how good Arsenal has come with Mikel Arteta. So for me, if you ask me, I would have loved to see Ten Hag another more season at Old Trafford. Give him the people behind the scene. Jason Wilcox just came to the club. We just had Omar Berrada. Dan Ashworth is on his way to the club. When Ten Hag came in, we didn't have all of these people. Ten Hag was operating as what's his name? Sir Alex Ferguson did. He was head of recruitment. He was in charge of the scouting. He chooses the players that he wants at the club. Even though we had 1 or 2 players that came to the club without his consent. But still, most of the players that came, I would say 80% of the players that came to the club was his choosing of players. Now that he's getting the people behind the scene with the experience to help him, why don't we give him the support? Let's say, okay, you just focus on the playing body. We will deal with the behind the scene. We will deal with the scouting. We will get in the place. All you have to do is just get out the results. But hey, this is Man United. We are desperate. We are desperate for success as the previous season. So I don't know. For me, obviously, I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this whole development. But hey, it is what it is. The new managers want to do what they want, so we just have to back them out.
I agree. I agree with like a lot of things that you're saying as far as the structure, right? And how in the past we've just sacked managers here and there, willy-nilly, and like kind of like we had no foundation or anything like that. I totally get that. But the fact that, you said, and a lot of other people are also saying that they want to keep the manager because, just because they don't want to repeat the cycle, to me is for me is ludicrous, because we have enough evidence to see already what this manager has done. Plus, I think this new regime is going to be different because they want to bring their own person. So in a way, this season,
do we know it's going to be different though?
Wait, hold on. Let me land. So this season was kind of like an audition, if you think about it, right? If it was an audition for him to keep his job, because we all know when a new regime comes in, they want to bring their own people. So it's like, okay, it's my job to get the team at least challenging for top 4, or have implement something that fans could get behind, like we did last year. Because last year, I'm not saying by all means that I think Erik ten Hag is a good coach. I think that he is. We saw it last year. We saw it in Ajax. We saw that he's a good coach. But the things that he's doing this season, for me, is unforgivable. For me, is unforgivable. And the fact that Ineos wanna, like, I feel like they want to break that cycle, right? I feel like Ineos want to break it, but in order for you to break it, they have to bring in their own people. And yes, they bring in the right people as far as director of football, as far as technical directors and all these people. But if they feel like Erik ten Hag is not the right man, then they need to start again with their own vision and then rebuild from there. This situation is a little bit unique, because if the Glazers were here, I would be here agreeing with you. I would be here agreeing with you guys, saying I don't want to repeat the cycle because we've seen it again and again and again. But however, this is a new regime. So for me, like, with the new regime also comes new personnel, and as well as the players. Like, we're gonna have hopefully we're gonna have different scouting, we're gonna have different recruitment, we're gonna have all of these things. And let's not forget, Erik ten Hag was backed. He was backed the most out of all the managers that we've had post Fergie. He has been backed the most, and even though he hasn't gotten some of his players. Okay,
so? Let me define that.
He's been backed. He's gotten the players that he's wanted. When he came in, he's like, I want to control the players that I bring into this club. all the players that he brought in were because of him, because he's known them from the Eredivisie, he's known them from wherever it was. Mason Mount, he wanted Mason Mount because he played with him in Utrecht. Amrabat, because I think also Utrecht. He wanted Frankie de Jong, even though we didn't get him. We got him players. We got him Lisandro Martinez. We got him Anthony. We got him Malacia. These were all Erik ten Hag signings, players that he wanted. And players, and then when Mourinho got sacked, he wasn't back that season and he got sacked. So that's an argument for me where it's like, if Erik ten Hag wasn't back,
Mourinho got Zlatan, he got Lukaku.
Not at the last season.
In his third summer.
Yeah.
That was his fifth or sixth window. Ten Hag has had 3 windows so far.
But you can't say that Erik ten Hag hasn't been backed, and he has been backed.
I'm not saying he hasn't been backed.
The board has given him
in some way more.
The board has given him the tools, and he chose to bring in Mason Mount instead of bringing in another center back. He chose to get Onana instead of bringing in another midfielder or whatever the hell, or another winger or whatever the hell. He chose to do all these things. Like we're forgetting that the board gave him leeway, right? So for me, that he has to be held accountable for those things. You know what I mean? And that's just the way I look at it.
I hear you there. I hear you for sure. And look, I'm the manager. This is United in the States, not Ten Hag in the States, right? I'm a Manchester United fan first, but at the same time, the problem, and Mo touched on this, the cycle, and yes, Ineos bringing people in, it's going to be a new cycle, whatever it is. We want to give them the benefit of the doubt, although you can argue since January, what have they really done? They signed Omar Barada. It was a nice coup. They talked about signing Ashworth. Ashworth still hasn't been signed. There's a lot of weird stuff coming about that week, this week. Jason Wilcox is in place. Jason Wilcox, I think he's a great signing. But what else have they done? They haven't done any interviews. They haven't supported the manager. They haven't backed him. I heard
last week
I heard Jim Ratcliffe talk about giving Arteta time and how great it was that Arsenal did that. And now I wonder, was he talking about Ten Hag, or was he talking about the next guy who could be, McKenna or whoever it is? But to say that Ten Hag, yes, sure, he got to bring in players, and that's true. And the results ultimately fall on the manager. But when I feel like, the club are making decisions based solely on results, that feels like they're not moving right to me. Like a fan, they can totally feel that way. And that's great. You feel passionate about your club. The results weren't right. You scream your head off. You curse the players out. You say Ten Hag out. The same way the fans said Arteta out. That was their prerogative. But at the end of the day, an organization, a sports organization, can't be results focused. They have to be process focused. Because if you're results focused, the same way you said, if they're worried about the FA Cup, we beat Man City tomorrow on some, BS penalty, it goes off someone's arm, it doesn't get called, VAR doesn't have, they decide not to overturn it, and we scam a 1-0 win, or we win in penalties, and they keep him because of that, then that's not the right decision either, right? They got to keep him because they feel like he's making the right decisions. And if you look at what he's done, he's tried to modernize this club, a club that when he came in still had, I guess one had left, but still had one Sir Alex Ferguson player, another one had left, still had a bunch of, Moyes players, Louis van Gaal, maybe not Moyes players, but Louis van Gaal players, a bunch of Mourinho players, Oli players, right? He's trying to modernize this club. We've gone from style to style, manager to manager. Our ethos, our, strategy has been, we appoint the manager and we do whatever the manager wants. We did that with Louis van Gaal. He got rid of the entire team, basically, that won the, last Premier League title for United. He sold Johnny Evans. He sold Welbeck. He sold Chicharito. He sold all these guys. And then he put in his style. Didn't work out. Whatever. We get Jose. Jose comes in his first summer. He gets a bunch of Minerola guys. He gets Pogba. He gets Zlatan. He gets Mkhitaryan. He gets, I think it was Eric Bailly that first summer. And then the next year he goes out. He gets Lukaku. He gets Matic, who's his guy. He got Victor Lindelof. And I feel like there was another person that they signed, but I can't think of it right now.
Matthew Damian.
I think Damian came with Louis. but he got to make the transfer. He got to trade Mkhitaryan for Alexis Sanchez. So he got rid of a right winger for a left winger, even though our left wing that year was Martial and Rashford. And Martial was playing really well. We brought in Alexis Sanchez, totally derailed Martial's career. We bring in Ali. Ali made a ton of signs. Got Maguire for 80 million, Wan-Bissaka for 50. He got Sancho, he got Ronaldo. Maybe he didn't want Ronaldo, but he got Cavani. He got a bunch of guys in as well. And we've just kind of gone from manager to manager, style to style. And I totally get that Ineos is coming in to do what they want to do. But that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's going to work out, right? Ten Hag has implemented his style, not just with the first team. He's implemented it throughout the levels of the youth teams as well. The under-23s, the under-21s, the under-18s, the under-17s. They are all playing under the same game model. The under-18s were a buzzsaw. They won a treble. They were a buzzsaw through that league. Yes, a lot of it has to do with the talent we have, but we don't always win the league. We'll win like a FA Cup or the FA Youth Cup here and there. Man City and Chelsea have dominated the youth leagues for the last couple of years. The under-18s team, they were like unbeatable this year. And a lot of that has to do with the style that we played. And yes, Ten Hag was backed, and you can make the argument, and I agree, maybe the recruiting wasn't that great, and part of that's on him, part of that is on the structure. But he wanted to bring in that second center back. He wanted Kim Min-jae. And they said, okay, we're not getting Kim Min-jae for whatever reason. Then he wanted Pavard or Todibo. And we ended up getting Johnny Evans.
We ended up getting Mount. You know what I mean? Like,
but we ended up getting Johnny Evans instead. But it wasn't because we got Mount. It's because
what was that Mount decision?
Wouldn't sell Maguire.
Do you think 70 million on Mount was the way to go? Did that change your season? No,
that's a hindsight thing. That's a hindsight thing.
But we all said it. It's not a hindsight because we all said it when he signed Mason Mount. We're like, why? We didn't understand why.
No, the signing of Mason Mount never made sense. No, it doesn't even make sense.
Exactly, it didn't make sense from the beginning, and now look, we ended up being right. So that's on the manager. Like I get what you're trying to say with things like that, but you can't be like, oh, he didn't get another center back, so we got Johnny Evans. What the hell? How are you gonna go from Kim Min-jae to Johnny Evans? And we've had injuries and center backs. That has to go on him. I'm sorry.
The injuries don't go on him. Don't put that because
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the fact that we got Mason Mount as opposed to getting the positions we really needed. You know what I mean? And did we really need Onana? I mean, I get why we got him.
We did need Onana. I get him. Modernize the club, and that's part of what I'm saying. Part of that is
right, but we haven't seen any of that this season. That's my thing.
We have seen it. It hasn't been every match. And we have gone long,
especially in the fourth half. Out of my hand, I can count four good games this whole season that we've had. In one hand, I can count how many good games we've had. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Like it is for me. Like I get what you're trying to say, and all these things that you're saying.
Who's our left back?
Yeah, but you're bringing things. But you're bringing things in. You're bringing things like, the youth.
But you're saying that this doesn't matter. You're saying that
you're bringing things like, we don't want to repeat the cycle. I'm bringing facts. I'm bringing facts of what
this is a fact. Who's been our left back all season?
With our own eyes. It's not just a result-based business.
We said we had 4 good performances this year. We went 3 months with 1 healthy fullback. You don't think that affects performances?
So the whole system relies on one fullback on the left back? Is that what you're trying to say?
Any team relies on having players playing their natural positions. We didn't have a fullback. And on top of that, we didn't
why your point is invalid? Because we've seen in the last few games that he can set up the team in a better way. But he hasn't done that this whole season. He only chose to do that at the end of the season. Why? If you would have done things like that, set up the team and for us not to concede. All right, I understand that we have center backs and we have injuries, right? So what do you got to do? You got to play in the 2 CMs to protect the back 4, but he doesn't do that. He brings McTominay, he puts 1 pivot and gets us exposed.
But that's how we played the last couple of games too.
Again. Okay, but he needs to be held accountable for the organizational team. of exactly. But these last few days, only these last few games, he's done that, and I praise him for that. I'm like, listen, like that was a great. But where has this been all season? You get me? Like this should have been done from the beginning, since the beginning of the season. The Wolves game, we've seen nothing improve through the beginning of the Wolves game to the end. At the end, he wants to decide to bring Ahmad. He wants to decide to set up the team a little bit better, play with the false nine,
Ahmad
not
was
start
hurt till
oiling,
January.
all
He
these
came back
things.
mid-January. Look, I
Yeah,
know,
but
I
I'm
get
not
what you're
saying
saying. I
Ahmad.
get
I'm
what
not
you're
saying
saying.
Ahmad. I'm just
I
saying
get
like
what
just
you're saying.
structure.
But what you're
Like it's
saying is
unacceptable
that
to me. You
there's
know,
nothing.
let's talk football. Let's talk football here. You know.
We are
Even
talking football.
Even with Ahmad after the Liverpool game, after Ahmad scored that Liverpool game, that goal, he kept Ahmed on the bench. Ahmed was fit all this while. He could have used Ahmed, but he
Exactly.
wasn't using Ahmed.
He did come in. He did come in. I know what you're saying, and I agree. And
No,
honestly, when I saw the way we played, when we set up more practically and a little less proactive and a little more defensively, like we have the last few matches. Yes, he could have done that earlier, but that's not the style that he wanted the team to play.
but even sometimes, yeah, we have to blame the manager, because if you look at the manager using that Casemiro for centre back, you use Casemiro as a centre back for the first time, and we also how it backfired. You could have molded a defender as someone else, maybe Wan-Bissaka. You could have molded Wan-Bissaka to be a centre back, and Wan-Bissaka would have been better. I'm just making an example. If you try one CDM as a centre back and it doesn't work, you have the likes of Scott McTominay. You could have tried Scott McTominay or try Safyan Amrabat and see how it works. But he insisted on Casemiro, and we also how it all went down. For 2-3 games, we're suffering because we're having Casemiro as a centre back. In as much as I want Ten Hag to stay for the club at the club for another season, and he used to be blamed for most of the things that has happened at the club this season. Some of the goals that we've considered this season, like he's come on. It's obvious that, like what Pep Guardiola said today, being at a club like Manchester United or Man City, obviously have to be blamed if the club doesn't win. All the club wants is results. If you don't provide the results, then obviously you have to be blamed for it. There is no excuse for that, because you are in charge.
And if not just results, like I know you're saying it's a results-based business, which it is 100%, but it's not just results. It's things that we've seen with our own eyes. It's things that us as like fans can see and address and be like, listen, why isn't he doing this? We don't have CVs. We don't have no coaching badges. We're just football fans. Why is it that we can see this and he can't? And this is why I get it when you say, oh, we're too emotional or I know it's a results-based business, but you got to look deeper. We are looking deeper. We're just using the results as more of like, for me, I'm using the results as more of like, that's embarrassing. But for me, even if we finish 6th, and for me, I want him gone because of the things that I've seen throughout the whole season, things that he has done. You know what I mean? And it's like, if we set up the team correctly in a few games, we would have gotten at least a few more points. We would have made it to 5th place or 4th place, and then we can be here and be like, okay, you know what, Erik ten Hag did a good job because he had injuries, and despite the injuries, he overcame it, and he said he found a way to push through, and we wouldn't be here. Maybe Erik ten Hag might still be here. You get me? So it's like things like this is the reason why I want him gone, and to me, like him being gone shouldn't be a shock to a lot of people because we've seen it all season. But I understand. I nonetheless, I understand why you guys want him in. But but some of the reasons that you're saying and the excuses, in my opinion, are invalid. But that's just my opinion, and I'm trying to back it up. You know what I mean? But
yeah, no, of course you believe that. I get that. But at the same time, sorry, go ahead, Mo. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, what Kevin is saying is true. Like, with this kind of like thing at United, there is no way you can get away with it. Everybody like is looking at you. What happens on the pitch every now and then? People make their analysis. What happens on the pitch? If you don't get it right, people definitely criticize you. So like, obviously Ten Hag is supposed to be blamed for whatever happened at United this season.
And he'll say that himself. He'll accept the blame.
And the players
been saying
too.
that the whole time.
Right, Ten Hag will never accept that. That's my problem with Ten Hag.
Exactly.
He has been saying it. He has been saying it. He has been. What do you mean? He's been saying the results haven't been good enough.
Yes, but he's also said that we've had injuries. The excuses, the things that this guy says to
when you're saying the injuries.
us.
Look. You said before Chelsea had almost as many injuries as us.
Chelsea's
squad has a lot more. But you were using that to back up that injuries is not an excuse.
Right.
The
Exactly.
Chelsea squad, they've spent $1 billion in the last 3 windows. They have a 23, 25 man squad. All these players, they were like, how are these guys all going to play? They had a ton of injuries. They're still putting out 11s every week with the bench.
Yeah,
right?
but with the bench of Washington, like play like kids, like there was like Colwell was out.
It's good players. It's good
Reece James
Colwell.
Reece James has been out. Gusto was out for part of the season. Fofana, Lavia. There's so many injuries that these guys have had.
But they still had guys there to go in there for like Fofana is out. They still had Chalobah. They still had
we still had
Badiashile.
We still had Bruno. We still had Rashford.
I'm talking about their defense only.
We still had Garnacho. We still.
But we were playing Evans. You're arguing. We're playing Casemiro and Johnny Evans at center back.
But Evans has actually been okay this season. He hasn't even been that bad. We had players like Varane. We had players like Varane.
Johnny Evans couldn't play in a City team.
Varane. He said tactics for the derby for Varane. It's embarrassing. You know what I mean?
He's not good on the ball. Because he's not as good on the ball as some of the other guys.
So you risk it and play Johnny Evans because he's not good on the ball when you have his best center back. Our best center back this season has been Varane, and
Varane has lost a step as well. If you watch those first couple games, we didn't look right, and part of that was Martinez's injury, but also part of it is Varane has lost a step. And
but he has been our best center back this season, right or wrong? Has he been our best center back this season, Varane, or who has? Yeah,
what are our other choices?
We got
Varane, Evans, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
But he couldn't do what he was being asked to do at that moment. And listen, he lost a step. We know Varane has issues with injuries or whatever. I don't want to say whatever the problem is. Varane has played. We have played all the center backs. He cycled through everyone. And look, Casemiro, I agree. He could have tried something different. But would you argue Casemiro didn't play well last match against Brighton? Like the last 2 matches, he was arguably man of the match, right? Like maybe not the 1-2 matches ago against Newcastle, but against Brighton, he was arguably man of that match. He had that pass into the low.
Then what of Amrabat? If you say Casemiro is man of the match, then what of Amrabat then?
The reason
against Brighton, I'm saying Amrabat wasn't good against Brighton, but Amrabat was good the last 2 matches.
But he's an actual 6.
A lot of inconsistency.
Amrabat's actual 6. That's why it helped out. It helped out the center backs. That's what I'm saying.
Amrabat lost the ball multiple times. He was like Brighton. They were taking
but his recovery was good. Amrabat, he lost the ball multiple times, but his recovery is one of the best on the pitch. His recovery was one of the best.
He's the only actual 6 that we have, and he hasn't been playing the whole game. He's been playing
besides Casemiro.
Yeah, but I get it. But Casemiro, for me, he's more on like he'll partner up for a 6, but he shouldn't be left on his own. Like he's been left on his own and 6.
You're saying at this point.
No, I'm saying like throughout the whole season.
I'm saying Casemiro now, like at this age.
Oh well, not right now, obviously, right now he's of course he's dipped, of course, 100%.
Because Real Madrid, he's the greatest 6, maybe.
Right, I agree. I agree that he's dipped. I agree with that.
His legs are gone. Yeah.
For me, I'm sure. I believe that Casemiro is that player that we still bought from Real Madrid. The problem at United is not just Casemiro. Look at the players that we brought from Real Madrid. From Di Maria came to United. He was struggling to play, but he went to Paris Saint-Germain. We also what he did at Paris Saint-Germain. He went one ahead to win the World Cup. So Di Maria is not that player. He's not that bad. It's the team. The whole team is really bad, and it's making Casemiro look like a bad team. Put Di Maria in a good team like Manchester City. What's his name? Casemiro in a team like Manchester City, and you definitely see that Casemiro in. Casemiro is not that bad player that we make him to be that bad player. We've had players that left the club. Matthew Damian left the club. He went to Inter Milan, and he played in the Champions League final last year. He was struggling at Man United. Yeah, of course, we had players that were struggling at the club. Paul Pogba left United, even though like he had a lot of injuries when he went to what's his name, Juventus. But a few games that he played, you could see that Pogba, the Paul Pogba is still there. So it's not like Casemiro. So Casemiro is not. Casemiro is not. Yeah, Casemiro is not that bad. Casemiro is not that dead. It's the team around Casemiro that's making Casemiro look like a bad player. Even look at Marcus Rashford. Rashford is struggling this season, but I bet you if you put Marcus Rashford in a team like Arsenal or you put Rashford in a team like Man City, he'll be the best version of Rashford. Even look at Kobe Menu. He's had a couple of bad games this season, even though like he's had some good games, but he's had some bad games as well. Put Kobe Menu in a team like in the midfield of Liverpool and see what Kobe Menu can do. So it's not that Casemiro is that bad. It's the team around like I don't know what to say.
Whose job is it to set up the team? I agree with you. Like like for example, Mainu these past games hasn't
But
been that well
most point,
because we haven't set up because we're running him out to dry because we don't protect Mainu, right? We don't build the team around him. We just leave him exposed. So there's been times where we leave him as a 6 and then we expect so much. We're like, yo, where has Mainu been? Because he's getting exposed because he's not playing the right players around these players. And there's been times where Garnacho has just stunk out the plays, Rashford has stunk out the plays, players have stunk out the plays, and he's kept them on, and made the wrong subs and things like this, or things that maybe if we would have made the right decisions, pick the right players, set up the team correctly, choose the right combination of players. Even though I understand that we had injuries, but there was a lot of games where we're looking at the bench and be like, why hasn't he started this player? Why hasn't he started this player? Why did he make this sub? Why, you know what I mean? The game management is also terrible. And those are
I think you're Monday morning quarterbacking that. I think you're Monday morning quarterbacking that. Because if you look at a lot of the games this year, we haven't had the bench. We haven't had the bench. You can look it back and say, okay, hindsight, you know, we should have played this guy. This guy should have started. And just to go back to the you know, the what's his name, Ahmad thing. Ahmad, yeah, he came on. He scored the winning goal against Liverpool. It also coincided with Antony's best run of the team. I think Ahmad's better than Antony. I love that Ahmad is pressing, the way he keeps the ball. But, you know, Ahmad was out the next game. And then the game after that, he started Antony because Ahmad hadn't played for a while. Antony arguably had his best game of the season against Chelsea. Ahmad still came on. Ahmad came on for Garnacho against Bournemouth around that time too, maybe a little bit earlier. So he was working Ahmad back into the team, and Ahmad has taken his chance and he's kept.
I don't agree that he's working his way back into the team. We just explained.
But you know he was working his way back in the team. Stop,
remember
he's been for real though.
He's been remember since Fulham. He's been back since Fulham, and he hasn't been working his way back
since
into
Fulham.
The team.
Which game? Fulham.
Him 5 minutes at the end is not working your way back into the team. So stop waffling. Stop talking.
But he has been. That's not true. He came back. He came back from injury. He was out injured for 5 months or whatever it was. Right from July to January.
He came in the full game, and then we never seen him again until Liverpool, and then that happened, and then we never saw him again until the recent games. You get me?
And you don't know why. You don't know if he's healthy. You don't know how he's training.
What about Anthony? What about Anthony? There was some.
Well,
there
maybe
was some
Anthony
games
was training well. I don't know.
There was some games where Anthony was actually doing well, and then he didn't start Anthony. He would start Garnacho and Rashford. When Rashford has been sticking out the plays, Garnacho has been sticking out the plays and leaving Højlund out to dry. These guys are greedy wingers. We know that. All three of us know that Rashford is a greedy winger. He likes to cut in and shoot. Garnacho, the same thing. They're not really good at crossing the ball. So then, you know, exposes Højlund, and then, you know, Højlund hasn't had the best season because of it, because we don't give him the service, but we don't set up the team in a way where we do it. If we had, let's say, Anthony, and let's say whatever Ahmad or whoever we had at the time, Palestri or Sancho, whatever the case, because we had Sancho for the beginning of the season. If we set up the team in a little bit in a way that, okay, let's provide for the striker or something like that, you know, I'd hear it. But we've scored less goals.
I'm not even sure Sancho and Højlund.
I
know what you're saying, but I'm saying they didn't play together.
But
But now again, you're Monday morning quarterbacking it, where you're saying he should have played this way when we hired a manager for a reason. He hired a manager to play his style, and then he can't play his style because
there's no style.
What do you mean no style? How do they do so well at Ajax?
Counter attack. What's the style? Counter attack. Just running behind the defender.
Is that how they played at Ajax? That's how they played at Ajax. That's how they played at Ajax. Is that how they played at Ajax?
So how are we seeing? Why aren't we seeing it? Why aren't we seeing it?
Because they don't have the players. At Ajax, he had two ball-playing quick center backs.
Isn't that the problem? But isn't that the problem, that it's player specific? His style is very player specific.
Everyone's style is player specific.
No,
Pep's style is player specific.
De Zerbi's not player specific.
What do you mean De Zerbi's style is not player specific?
McKenna's
style is not even style not player specific?
Because it's not, because you've seen that
because
this guy
what do
can
you
get
mean?
the best out of Sully March. This guy could get the best out of Gross.
What do you mean? Those players were picked specifically. Brighton picked De Zerbi because he matched Graham Potter's style enough where they thought he would be a good manager for the players they had already bought for Graham Potter. That's why Brighton did so well. It's not because they took a team that was parking the bus like Mourinho and a bunch of random players and he turned them into superstars. They were playing like that under Graham Potter. And then Graham Potter went to Chelsea and crumbled.
De Zerbi elevated them and got them to sixth place. They got them to Europe.
And then what happened this year? They fell apart because they had injuries. And
But
they had a tough schedule.
despite of the injuries,
but that's the thing.
Despite of the injuries, look how they played against us. The first half against us, the last game, they were bopping us up the park. They were literally bopping us. They just couldn't finish. They just couldn't finish. You get me? So like his style for me is like, okay, I can see it because even though he's had players like Barco, who the hell is Barco? You that ginger dude. Would you guys even know him? No, that's what I'm saying.
If you watch Ten Hag style at Alfred, though, if you watch Ten Hag style at Ajax, it's not that much different than what he's played here. The difference has been at Ajax, he had Martinez and Timber. I watched the game this morning. I was like, am I crazy? Am I missing something? Like, has it completely changed? I watched when they beat Dortmund 4-0 in Ajax. And it was Haaland up front, Bellingham in the team, Emre Can, Sule, Royce, what's his name? Hummels, right? Like Thomas Meunier, like not this year's Dortmund, but 2 years ago, right? They were a good team and they killed them. They worked them. And the only difference was they had ball players all along the back line. They had two quick center backs. Like Timber got the ball. He got under pressure. He just ducked and he cut through the pressure. Martinez got the ball. He got under pressure. They were able to handle it. It was the same exact style we played. It's just they had like Anthony played. Anthony was untouchable that game against Dortmund. Right? It's something about United. I think Mo was trying to touch on this when he was bringing up Pogba and Di Maria and all these other guys. Mo was trying to bring it. There's something different about, coming to United. And look, maybe that, got to Ten Hag as well. And maybe that's something, that hurt him in the end. But to pretend like, oh, this guy can't coach, he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's a bad coach and he's got no style. I think that's disingenuous because obviously this guy was a good coach. He's got a better CV and more accolades than anyone really we're looking at now besides Tuchel. Right.
Then what did he say? Why did he say in a press conference, I will never play Ajax football at Manchester United? Why did he say that then? If you're saying
he said he can't play the same style because he doesn't have the same players.
He said he's never gonna play the style of Ajax. So why are you here expecting the style of Ajax to show up? If he literally said it from himself that he's not gonna play it, he's gonna play a Manchester United style. We didn't bring you here for that. We brought you here to play an Ajax style, and he's not implementing it. And that's my thing. This is last year we saw good things.
Now you're waffling because you're saying he didn't have a style. Now you're saying he had a style.
I just don't understand. Like last year, he got the best out of these players, and we give him praise.
Here's 100%. The quote. I have the quote here. The football that we played at Ajax, we will never play here. He told.
Exactly.
Blah blah blah.
That's exactly what I said.
I have different players now. And it's also not the reason that I came here.
Well, players that he brought in.
The collection of players.
He brought in Martinez from Ajax. He brought in Anthony from Ajax. I'm just saying.
Martinez hasn't played. Martinez has been out the whole season.
We got players from the Eredivisie to play his style.
Martinez has been out the whole season, right? He hasn't had a left back. He hasn't had his other left back that he brought from the Eredivisie, Malacia, right? Delo is the only guy who could play that style. Look how good Delo's been all season. Right, Edson Alvarez was his 6 at Ajax. I looked at the game. The difference between Alvarez, obviously Casemiro, much better the player than Edson Alvarez, but Alvarez had the legs to cover the pitch side to side. We haven't had that guy in. Maybe Amrabat can do it, but Amrabat even hasn't looked like that this year when he played up until the last few matches. He says the collection of players you have available determines your style of play, and that's why we play here in a different manner than I have at Ajax. And I will have to be because I cannot play here in that same way. And that is not entirely in the DNA of Manchester United. If you look at his Ajax teams, he didn't play one way the whole time. Each season he played slightly differently because Ajax, they're traditionally a big club, but they're obviously a selling club. He had to change his style up because they got raided. They had to sell De Jong, De Ligt. They sold Donny van de Beek to us in one of the robberies of the 2020s, and then they also sold a few other players. I think not Bergwijn, Neres, etc. So he had to change his style each season to suit that team. What he did here is he tried to, maybe it was being cute And maybe, you know what, again, I'm not completely disagreeing with you that he could have been more pragmatic 4 months ago and maybe would have got more points out of it. I just think that, you know, the point when you're saying he should have been pragmatic, that's also the point when we're playing Lindelof or Amrabat at left back. You know, Casemiro can't play or he's playing sick. Or we have to play McTominay, like you said.
These players aren't better. These players are still better than players like Bournemouth's players. Like
I don't think so.
Coventry.
I think if you
Look at how
brought
Coventry
De
played against
Zerbi
us.
in this year
Look
with
at
the same
how
team,
Coventry
he
played
wouldn't
against
get a
us.
tune out of
They're
them.
8th or 7th in the championship, and they're
We were
bopping us
3-0 up
hard.
on them. We were dominating that game.
And we made the wrong subs. And who's
we're 3-0 up on a championship team. You can't take Mainu off, and who else came off? Garnacho, like 2 guys that were sucking wind. Hoyland literally yelling at Garnacho to stop cheating ahead. Like you could see it on TV. Hoyland turned around. It was like, get back. Garnacho wasn't listening to instructions. He had to take him off. And then who did he put on? He put on Ahmad, right? Or no, it was an Anthony. Anthony, right?
I think it was Anthony.
Yeah, and then Ahmad came on a little bit later, I think, for Rashford, maybe. Whatever. The point is that like we were up. You know, like you could put things on the manager, but I feel like everything gets put on the manager. You know, like, oh, he made the wrong decision taking off Mainu. Mainu was sucking wind when he subbed him off. Like, are we gonna, if Mainu gets hurt, pulls a hamstring, he's out for 3 months, everyone's gonna be like, oh, Ten Hag left him on when he should have taken him off. What a terrible manager. It's his fault players keep getting injured. Like, I feel like this guy had a no-win situation because the media was coming for him. Certain sections of the fan base were coming for him. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the media are gunning for Manchester United in general.
He couldn't handle the pressure, and he botched.
It's not he couldn't handle the pressure. The players weren't there.
Obvious.
Sure. But, like, is that his fault that they gave up a 3-0 win? And one of those was a dodgy penalty where the guy looked like he died.
But this happened. This is happening all season, dude. This is happening all season. Like, I can talk to you so many games that this has happened. Like, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that it's just the players. My thing is, it's the manager and the players. The players aren't good enough. I totally agree with you, man. I if it were up to me, I'll keep like 2 or 3 players from this whole squad and get rid of everything. Realistically, we're not going to be able to do that in 1 season or not even 2 seasons because there's a lot of players on high wages. There's a lot of players that we need to get rid of, FFP and all these things, and that we need to bring in, etc. So
not
for
being
me,
in Europe means we don't have as many FFP.
That's true, but for me, it's gonna take a while for us to strip the squad. It's gonna take like a year, 2 years, and for
we're
me,
basically starting over.
Exactly. For me, I'm not willing to give the manager another opportunity for him just for us to waste our. In my opinion, I think it's a bigger risk because I've seen enough already from this guy this season that I know that in my point of view, I think that this guy will set us back even further. And like you said, he doesn't have the players. He's not gonna have the players for another season or 2 seasons. You get me?
I think we're 3 players away from competing.
I don't think so.
I think we're
disagree.
a 6.
I disagree.
Another center back if Martinez is healthy. And
bro, you just said the players aren't good enough, and you want to get 3 players in, so you want to keep the rest of the players. How does that make sense? We have to replace the players that are coming out.
No. Listen. We have. I think Ahmad has shown he can play. I think Garnacho can play. I think he was overplayed this year. I think Hoyland is a star.
I agree.
I think Mount is a good player. I think Mount and Mainu in the midfield we can rotate. And then if we have a 6, a right-sided center back, left-sided center back who's healthy in Martinez, I think he's the right player. And whether it's Shaw or somebody who can play the whole season, I think Shaw, when he's healthy, I think he's one of the best left backs in Europe. He's just too unreliable because he's injured all the time. But I think if we could solve those positions, I think we could compete, not for the title necessarily, but I think if we had that this season even, just Martinez and Shaw and Casemiro not missing 3 months, I think potentially we're up and around top 4 and we're having a different conversation. I agree. I don't think we're going to compete for the title next year, but I think with Ten Hag, if we make a few right signings, they're talking about getting Elise, who I'm not sure we should sign, but whatever, that could be another conversation. They're already talking about right center backs and Todibo, who's someone who Nice owns, so we should get him there. I think we're not that far off from competing, but I think that he can do well enough as we, like you said, move players in and out It's just this season he only had Delo consistently in his back line. And I think that's the reason why we shipped so many goals, why our defense looked funky, all these other problems that we've had building up. He didn't have those players, and he just needs a few of those players. But I mean, it's a moot point because it sounds like he's gone anyway.
What do you think, Mo? What do you think about what he said about the 3 players away from challenging? Because I disagree with that. I think
I'm not saying we're Man City, Arsenal, but I'm saying we're definitely in the mix in top 4. Aston Villa, we beat Villa twice. Spurs, like we're in that mix. I wouldn't say those teams are like that far off, right?
Yeah, but I just wanted to, I guess, like hear what Mo had to say about that. I guess like the player wise, like who would you like realistically, like how many players do you think we need to get in and get rid of for us to like at least challenge again?
As a challenge in the Premier League again, it's gonna take a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna take a lot of work. Like on the left back, on the right back, if you ask me, I'm gonna keep Diego Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, because if you're gonna get rid of Wan-Bissaka, Dalot is gonna be reluctant, he's gonna relax. So we definitely need Wan-Bissaka to give him a little bit of competition. So on the right back, I'm gonna keep Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. And the centre back, Harry Maguire. If we get an offer for Harry Maguire, you let him go. Get someone young in. Get Todibo in from Nice. Get Tosi Adarabiolu from Fulham. Get another centre back. Yeah, get maybe 3 centre back. It's gonna be difficult. We cannot get all of these players in on these transfer windows, but at least we just have to like get them on the left back with Tara Malacia and Wan-Bissaka. What's his name? Luke Shaw. They've been our problem this season. Both of them. We cannot have these players on our list. These players that they cannot be reliable in the whole season. You just have to get rid of them. If you get an offer, no one is going to pay. I don't think anyone will pay more than 20 million or 25 million to get like Luke Shaw. Looking at his age. Same, Tara Malacia is young, but I don't think you get more than 30 million. We overpay. That's one problem with United. We overpay to get these players in, and they come in and they cannot perform. If we get someone that wants to take Tara Malacia, he's a good player. Do not take that away from him. He's a good player, but with his injuries, like, come on, we cannot rely on someone who is injured. Looking at Phil Jones used to be one of the best defenders in the Premier League, but his injuries kept him away of the squad. We want someone who is fit, not someone who is like injury prone. In the midfield, definitely that's where the work is. You need to get people in the midfield. That's where the problem is. If you ask me that, I think because you cannot rely on Casemiro. Looking at his age, Scott McTominay, he's not that player. He's just like what's his name, Marcus Rashford. He had a good season this year, but last season he wasn't that good. Who knows what's coming with next season? So Scott McTominay, if you get someone, let him go. Bring in someone in with the wings. Marcus Rashford, a big question. I think Marcus Rashford is a whole topic to discuss on itself. But looking at, you have Ahmed, what's his name, Garnacho. Maybe Sancho is going to come to the club now that Ten Hag is leaving. So I think getting one more winger will be fine. And then up front, you need someone just to help Rasmus Holland. I think we'll be fine. There is a lot of work,
though. It's a lot of work, and that, I guess like just before we move on, because I want to talk about like maybe what you guys think about like the managers that we're linked to and everything. But I guess like what I meant to say, what I was trying to say is that we need a lot of work, and we need a lot of players coming in and coming out, and it's going to take a while for the structure to be implemented, because I know it's just being implemented now, but Dan Ashford is not even in the picture. Omar Barada is not even in the picture until July. You know what I mean? So I feel like this summer, it's going to be we're still a little bit set back because the transfer window opens in June. These guys don't come in July. Like that's a month's worth of work that we're going to lose. So it's like it's going to take a while for us to get him the right players, like you're trying to say. And that for me, it's like I'm not patient, because I've seen City.
But isn't that worse? I hear what you're saying.
I've seen City win a treble. I've seen City's gonna win a double, and I've seen already enough from this manager that he has failed. But
isn't that worse? And I'm not saying this is a great reason to keep the manager, but isn't it worse to say we're gonna hire a new manager, but then we can't sign any players for this new manager?
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean by not sign any players?
What you're saying? We don't have Dan Ashworth in. We don't have Omar Barada in. Like what?
We'll get a manager.
The new manager isn't going to be. We have the Euros this summer,
right?
Copa America.
But I want
a manager isn't going to see the players until July or August when they get back. Like, how are we going to do business? Is the manager going to be making those choices?
No,
Is he
it's
gonna
gonna be
like-
it's gonna be Jason. So Jason
Jason
Wilcox, all
Wilcox.
these guys, they're collecting the data that they've seen. This is why I think that the decision has already been made because
Now,
there's
this
which
is
manager is going to sign up for that though? Who's
yeah,
going to say,
but
"I'll
they're
see
not.
you in August" and not know what the squad's going to look like?
But they're gonna, in my opinion, I think they're gonna try to find a manager that is gonna get that they know is gonna get the identity and style.
They've
that
already
they
found
want.
one already, bro. They've already found a manager already.
Exactly.
We're just waiting for the announcement.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think that they're just waiting for an announcement. I think that they're working behind the scenes on things, and they've identified a manager that they want because they want to create an identity. If you hear everything that they want to say, they said that we lack an identity and they want to create an identity, which I agree. So they're going to bring a manager, in which, in my opinion, I don't know who it is. We can talk about that next. In my opinion, I think is the right thing to do because that's what we need right now. Because our situation, like realistically, like I know a lot of people want like an Ancelotti, a Hansi Flick, a Zidane, but for me, those aren't like building managers, right? Like those are like I have all my players ready to go and I'm ready to challenge, but we're far behind from that. We need a manager that for me can, and maybe Erik ten Hag is that type of manager that has all his players in already and it's ready to go. But right now we're not in that situation, and that's why for me I'm not willing to wait. We need a manager that can get the best, that is looking.
So let's
for
go
what
down the
they're
list
looking
then.
for.
So we have Poch, Tuchel, McKenna, Thomas Frank. These are the guys most associated with United. You know, Mo, Poch, is that someone you could see being the next Manchester United manager?
Mo, what do you think about Poch?
I don't know. Maybe we lost Mo for a second there.
But
No, we're asking you, what do you think about Poch? About any?
What do you think
I
about
guess
Poch? Do you think he's
so.
as the next Manchester United manager?
no. Even though he's been linked with the club since like Sir Alex Ferguson's day, everyone has seen Pochettino to be that kind of manager with a lot of potential. Looking at what he did at Tottenham, but linking him to United at this time of the season, like I don't think is the right thing to do because he just left Chelsea. Who knows the reason why he left Chelsea? He obviously had a like good end of the season. Like their last 10 games were one of the best they've had in only God knows how long. But linking him to United at this time, I think like no, he has nothing to do with United. If someone is going to come to Old Trafford at this time, I think it's definitely going to be Kieran McKinnon or De Zerbi. Among these two, that's what I think personally. But I think like no, Poch. I don't know. You don't know what these people are cooking behind the scene. But Pochettino, no, I don't see him anywhere coming. He's a good manager, but I don't see him anywhere near the club.
How about you, Kevin? What do you think about Poch?
He's a good manager, but I think I don't know. Poch is we should have gotten Poch maybe like before we got Ali or something like that. I think he would have been good, but now I don't think the right time. I don't think he's the right manager for us currently.
No.
He's not a bad manager. He's a good, decent manager, but I don't think he's the right fit for us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Chelsea got rid of him too soon, but I wouldn't touch him. You know, three trophies at PSG is nothing to sniff at. But you know, like I don't think he's good. I think we have the same problems with Poch in the next 2 years that we have with Ten Hag right now. How about Tuchel? What do you guys think about Tuchel, Mo?
Thomas Tuchel, no. Looking at his record, he did well at Chelsea, but looking at what he did at Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain, even before he came to Chelsea, he hasn't been that good manager. Like I said, Thomas Tuchel, he's not a manager that I would like to see at Old Trafford. Like I just mentioned earlier on, if you want someone to come to Old Trafford and we really want to get rid of De Zerbi, I'll only stick with Kieran McKenna. Looking at what Kieran McKenna has done, and then De Zerbi. But with Thomas Tuchel, no, I wouldn't want to see him at Old Trafford. Looking at he had was the name Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich happens to be one of the best teams in the world in Europe. Looking at their record in the German Bundesliga, but look at what happened to them this season. They struggled to even beat Bayer Leverkusen. And he had all of these world-class players. Having Jamal Musiala, the youngest European player, having Harry Kane, he scored most of the goals in Bundesliga this season, but yet still he struggled to win the Bundesliga with this squad. And then bringing him to Old Trafford with this crop of players, having Casemiro centre back, Amrabat playing left back, bro, he's gonna struggle. He's gonna struggle at United, bro. Do not even bring him to Old Trafford.
How about you, Kevin?
I rate Tuchel. He's a good manager. the whole thing about him not winning the league under Bayern, I think no manager in the world would have been in that Bayern and still won that league because Leverkusen have been undefeated. So that whole thing about him not winning the Bundesliga for me is not really an argument, but what you can say is an argument
So
is
they
the
were
fact that.
undefeated because yeah. Okay,
But
go on, Kelvin.
even if he won against Leverkusen, I think Leverkusen would have still won the league anyway. But anyway, I don't want him at United regardless. But I rate him still. I think he's a good manager. He definitely has pedigree. Like he has cups. Like he has Champions Leagues. He has titles. He's a good manager. Decent coach. But I think that he falls out with the board a lot, and I just don't think that it would be a right fit for us at the moment. I would take him, if they said, we signed Thomas Tuchel, I'll back him and I'll be excited for a bit. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't choose Tuchel at all, and it's mainly because of the whole board situation. I think he's like a little bit of an arrogant, which is good, like to have, I guess, as a manager. You need a little bit of arrogance, but I don't think he's the right fit for what we have currently.
Yeah, I agree. He's a short-term manager, and part of that is because he falls out with people. He kind of reminds me of Mourinho in that way. Like he can come in, he can win you some trophies, but then it's going to like blow up in everybody's face in 2 years, and he's out, and you got to start over again. So I don't think we're at that moment right now. Next one, I'm going to say Thomas Frank. What do you guys think about Thomas Frank, Mo?
Thomas Frank. I would consider Thomas Frank, looking at what he did with Brentford, bringing them like from the Championship, making them a Premier League side. A team like Brentford, they don't compete to win the Premier League. If they get a chance to win the Premier League like Leicester did, it's a miracle. They'll be happy for it. But teams like Brentford, sorry to say, their priority is to stay in the Premier League. Do not get relegated. Top four is not for you. Just stay in between. So, and he has been able to do that. He's been able to keep that record with Brentford, and he's still doing that. And looking at the players that he's produced in the last couple of years, looking at what he's been able to do with Ivan Toney, yeah, if you ask me to consider someone, I might consider Thomas Frank, because he's someone looking at the kind of academy that we're having now, looking at what under 18 have been able to do, bringing someone like that to the club, he can be able to blend the younger squad with the senior team, giving him 1 or 2 signings and 1 or 2 seasons. I think, yeah, United can get to the top. So yeah, Thomas Frank is someone that I would like to see at Old Trafford.
How about you, Kevin?
I don't think so. Not for me. He's a good manager though. Like I think he's good for what Brentford need. Like Mo was saying, like not to get relegated or neither compete for the top 4. And we've seen them. When we played against them, they put everybody like behind the ball, like they just defend and put like a low block like crazy. And I don't know, I just I don't think that's the type of style that I know maybe he's playing it for Brentford, to suit them, but I just don't think that his type of style, from what I've seen in Brentford, will suit United. I just think it's too much of a jump for him. I'm not too sure if he'd be United quality, but he's a good manager nonetheless. But nah, I wouldn't touch him.
Yeah, same. That's a hard no for me. The Randy Jackson American Idol meme, no for me, dog. He's all right. He's all right. Like, I agree. He's done a good job, bringing them through the levels, and that's commendable. But I think United is different gravy. And, like, to step from that environment into Old Trafford, we saw like a lesser version of it with David Moyes. Like, David Moyes, been a Premier League manager with Everton. Like, I think Everton is a big club compared to Brentford. So I think it would be a tough transition for him. Which actually brings us to the next one, Kieran McKenna, who, I haven't checked the odds, but based on social media, it kind of feels like he's the odds-on favorite. Listening to, again, I told you, I listened to the
I'm just going to start.
Go ahead, Bo.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
do we freeze? Yeah, go for it, bro. Go for it.
I think we have a delay.
Yeah, but looking at what you just said about Thomas Frank, looking at what you just said about Thomas Frank, you said he's not a United type of manager, like he's a Brentford. Then same as Kieran McKinnon, because Kieran McKinnon, he was at United under Jose Mourinho as a third assistant manager. Kieran McKinnon was at Old Trafford under Jose Mourinho as a third manager, not even second, because Carrick was second, and then he came under Oligano. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear
Can you
us?
hear me? The
Can you
network is breaking. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you're
can
good,
hear
Mo.
you.
You're good. Keep going.
Yeah, you're good, bro. Maybe
The
come
network
back
is.
out
I
and
think
come
the
back
network
in.
is still not stable.
Okay.
Maybe like come back out and come back in.
Yeah, let me
Maybe
try that again.
Yeah. Yo, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think I'm back in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear
we
you.
could hear you
Kev.
before. Just keep going. Go ahead. Keep cooking. Let's come back to Mo.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we good.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, so we're talking about Kieran McKenna. I think the network has been really bad. I'm just gonna take off about like Kieran McKinnon. He was a third manager at United somewhere around 2016, 20. Yeah. Talking about Kieran McKinnon, he was a third deputy manager at United under Jose Mourinho with Michael Carrick, and then he came under Oligano, and then he came under Ralph Ragnick before he left in 21. So if you're saying Thomas Frank is not United type of manager, is not good enough, then same as Kieran McKenna, because Thomas Frank has been able to get Brentford promoted to the Premier League, and he's. Oh no.
You good, bro? Keep going. You're good.
I think what Mo is basically trying to say.
Yeah, so I was talking about I was talking about Kieran McKenna. Like you said, Thomas Frank. You were saying Thomas Frank is not. It's not a good type of manager. Yeah, you were talking about Thomas Frank. You said Thomas Frank is not a United type of manager because he's not good enough with Brentford. Like Brentford are not like to be relegated, as I said. And then I'm just gonna say the same with Kieran McKinnon because he's never managed in the Premier League side before. The best he did was a second manager and the second deputy for 2 games under Michael Carrick before Michael Carrick left, and then he went to Ipswich. He got Ipswich from Championship to from League One. Oh, the network is really bad.
You're good, bro. You keep going. Like we can hear you. We heard everything. It was like one of those loops.
Oh, that was
like,
rough because he was good. He was good.
It's just like one of those loops that just kept going. Or he was cooking.
Yeah, I think it's the whole Atlantic Ocean thing. That's probably a big
Nah, it's
issue.
all good. It's all good.
StreamYard getting stressed after the hour mark. Oh, he's back. Can you hear us, Mo?
Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you fine, man. Keep going. You're good.
Yeah, it seems like the network was really breaking over here, so I thought like I wasn't hearing. So I'm just gonna build my point again about Kieran McKinnon.
Did you go mute?
About Thomas Frank. I'm just gonna say same as Kieran McKinnon because he just got Ipswich promoted from League One to Championship and then from Championship to the Premier League. He's never coached. He's never managed in the Premier League side before. Managers in the world, talking of going head to head with Pep Guardiola, going head to head with Klopp, going head to head with Arteta, and he's still in the Premier League. So if you're comparing these 2 managers, I would rather go for Thomas Frank instead of Kieran McKinnon because McKinnon, we've not seen he has done is to promote a team, to get a team promoted from the Championship to Premier League. What of Thomas Frank? Thomas Frank has been able to get a team promoted from the Premier League. Looking at Vincent's company, he managed to get Burnley promoted. You can easily, I'm not going to say it's easy, but you can easily get a team promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. But to get them sustained in the Premier League is the problem. Vincent's company, that he's probably going to be the next manager of Bayern Munich. He managed to get Burnley in the Premier League for just 1 season. And they couldn't even survive. And they've gone back to relegation again. So to get a team into the Premier League and getting them sustained in the Premier League is much more difficult than to just promoting them. Every manager can just bring a team in the Premier League, but sustaining them in the Premier League is the main point. So if you ask me between Kieran McKinnon and Thomas Frank, I'd rather go with Thomas Frank because we've seen what Thomas Frank can do. We've seen like his CV. Everyone can easily see what he can do. So I'd rather go with Thomas Frank.
That's an interesting argument, honestly. That's a good point because Thomas Frank's been able to stay up. We don't know if McKenna can do that. What do you think, Kevin?
I'm indifferent, I guess, about McKenna. To be honest, I don't really watch the championship like that. But from what I've seen and heard, he's a good manager. Like he plays, he adapts. He adapts to different teams, and he doesn't just play one style. He can adapt different styles, which I like. He has like good players. I forgot the name of them, but one of the players got like 18 assists. And the championship this year is actually pretty competitive. It's not as like last year, like the teams that got promoted got straight back relegated. This year we got teams like Leicester, Leeds, Southampton. It's more of like, I guess, a little bit more of competitive, but it's, for me, the step from championship to United is very, very big. Even from Chelsea, right? From him to Chelsea, I think it's too big. I think he he deserves a chance to manage Ipswich in the Prem, see how he does, and maybe go to Brighton, see how he does, and then in a couple years he might be ready for that big job. But I just don't think it's now. I think that if we get him, if we get a manager like him, we're gonna have to give him a lot of time, and and I think it's too much of a gap. You know what I mean? So I'm not too sure about him. I think he's a good manager. I would consider him if he kept doing well in like next year, or and he shows us that if with Ipswich or with Brighton he can do it in the Prem. Once we see that, then I would consider bringing him in. But yeah, I would agree with Mo. Like Thomas Frank has shown more because he's in the Prem. You get me? So that's the argument. Personally, I wouldn't take neither, but I get why they might want Karen McKenna, because maybe he's like, okay, maybe this guy is gonna be good, and he plays a really good attractive style of football, and we want him, and we want to get him in now before another team gets him. And I get that side to it. Maybe they're looking at it like that, but for me, I think it's too much of a jump. But what about you, Chris? What do you think?
I agree
No,
with
it's just
both
gonna
of
be too
you.
much of a job. Like I totally agree with you. I agree with Kelvin. Even look at if I'm to be Karen McKinnon, he shouldn't rush into taking a big job. If he wants to leave Ipswich, the best for him to develop his career is to go to Brighton,
Yep.
not to go straight to Manchester or go straight to Chelsea. Look at Xavi Alonso. Xavi Alonso of Bayer Leverkusen. He had a chance to join Liverpool or the chance to manage Bayern Munich, but he said no. He wants to maintain and develop his craft at Bayer Leverkusen. We all knew he was never a manager. He came to the limelight and the Bayer Leverkusen just one season, and he's been able to do something remarkable. And he wants to develop for another season. That's what Kieran McKinnon is supposed to do with Ipswich, not to just bring them to the championship and just jump over. Bring them in the championship, give yourself 1 season or 2 seasons. Let's see what you can do with Ipswich. But do not rush and just go for Chelsea or go to United. If he's going to come to United, then we should sign a contract with everyone that no one is getting rid of him. We're giving him 5 seasons to be able to develop, because there are a lot of players. He cannot get rid of all the players at United in just 1 season. It's going to take him a lot of seasons, 3-4 seasons, before he can bring his own squad in, model his squad, and bring the type of rid of all the players in just 1 season. So bringing him to Old Trafford in just 1 season, I think it's going to be a big jump. He cannot handle. Trust me, he cannot handle the pressure at United. Not at this moment.
Yeah, I agree.
I
What about you,
completely
Chris?
agree. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think if I could play devil's advocate for a second, I would say if you look at Company went up from the championship to the Prem, and they played good football. And I think that's what got them relegated, when you need to be a little bit more pragmatic when you're a team that just got promoted, and just focus on staying up and build from there. And they played well against us. They played well against other teams. They played well against a lot of teams. Like I heard, not City, but I think Spurs,
Against
Arsenal,
Chelsea, they played very
Chelsea.
well.
Yeah, no, they Burnley played well, but they still got smoked and had no chance of staying up. And Company was able to say, "Look, this is my style. If we had better players, it would translate better." And I think that's played him into the Bayern Munich job, which is still kind of insane for me. But no, I agree.
he's a
I
good
think it's too
manager.
big of a jump. I think he's a good manager, yeah, and he played a nice style. But I think it's too much of a jump for McKenna. I tried to watch one of their games today, but for me, the championship is like way too wild. It's like very physical, a lot of back and forth. So I don't know how well that translates, and maybe it just was the wrong match to watch. But I think he's done well and he deserves plaudits. But I agree with both of you. Going to Brighton next and then using that as a stepping stone is probably the best move for his career instead of trying to go too high and then, crashing and burning. And Todd Bowley is sending you home in November because he wants to get a new manager in.
I hope he stays in Ipswich or goes to Brighton. I would love to see that because like when an up and coming manager comes, you want to see. Yeah, go for it, bro.
Yeah.
But I guess
Trust me, if he goes to Chelsea.
Nah, go for it, bro. Go for it, Mo.
Yeah, if he goes to Chelsea, trust me, he's gonna get fired by the end of Christmas. He will get fired before Christmas because since Tom Bowley went to Chelsea, all the managers they've had 4 managers in 2 years. In the period of 2 seasons, they've had 4 managers, and all the managers have been there for season 6 months. They had Thomas Tuchel for 6 months. They got rid of him. They brought Graham Potter for 6 months. They got rid of him. They brought Frank Lampard for 6 months. They got rid of him. They brought Pochettino for 6 months. They got rid of him. So whoever is going in for Chelsea, in as much as you send for 3 years, trust me, you're gonna end up leaving within 6 months, bro.
I agree, man.
They are desperate for sources.
I agree, man. That's why I hope he doesn't go. I hope he doesn't go to Chelsea. I hope he stays, develops his. It's for his career. We want to see someone who is at United do good. And he plays exciting football. So I hope he stays in Ipswich. That'll be good, the best for him, or go to Brighton. See how it goes out.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
FA Cup final tomorrow. Any chance we win?
Yes, there is a chance. There's a 20% chance of us winning and an 80% chance of us losing.
20%? That high? I like your odds. Yeah, I like that. Very optimistic.
Nah, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, we got to give ourselves the best chance that we can get. The best chance by the players being on it, the setup being right, the organization being right, hopefully and thankfully we have a lot of players back from injury, so hopefully that works into our favors. But it might be a little bit of a confusion because since some players are back, does he start them, does he not, you know what I mean? So personally I would start Martinez and Varane. I think or Martinez and Varane, then maybe whoever. I think Willie is available, or Evans. Find a way that we can shut down Foden, right? Because Foden is a danger man, and if we shut down Foden, and the problem with the last game was that Foden, they switched and he put him on the left, and then he was cooking Wan-Bissaka. He was absolutely cooking him at the Etihad. So that scares me a little bit. The fact that our fullbacks might get exposed, to Doku, or I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka can handle Doku, but if a player like a technicality of Foden, or maybe even a Grealish, might be a little bit scary. But if he plays him in the middle, then as long as we shut him down, and we play in a pivot, then it gives us a chance, And then if our players are on it, keep it tight. Try to keep it tight as much as we can, as far as we can, and score a goal. Keep, and just try to catch them on the break towards the end, and bring on some of the players like Rashford, maybe some players that can run, that have some pace. And we've done it before at City, so we can just hope that at least if Erik ten Hag leaves, at least he can leave with a trophy, and we can stop City from doing the double, because we didn't stop City last year from doing the treble. We need to stop City no matter what. It's a derby. I don't care if like they're way better than us, or they have better players. Like, a derby is a derby, and this is history on the line once again. And if you can salvage anything from this season, it needs to be that FA Cup, because if we don't win the FA Cup, this season has been a complete and total failure, and I don't want that. You know what I mean? I'm a United fan. Like, I don't want the manager in. I don't want none of these players in. But at the end of the day, I want to win, and I want to win trophies. And what more of a beautiful way be like, yo, we finished 8th and we still won a trophy and Arsenal didn't, and we still won a trophy and Chelsea didn't. Like, like I want to be able to say that as a United fan. Like, even in our worst season, we won a trophy. But I'm not confident, but there's always a chance, man. You can't say no to that.
How about you, Mo? What do you think? Is there a chance tomorrow?
Hmm. I'm not gonna lie. Let's just be pragmatic about tomorrow's game. Yeah, looking on paper, as Kelvin said, like the chances of winning is only 20%. But this is a derby. This is a traditional game. This is a culture game, bro. Irrespective of it's a FA Cup game, taking it to Manchester is a whole lot. Is something different. So anything can happen tomorrow. Anything can happen. The only thing, like Kelvin is saying, Foden has been the problem. If you get Foden out of the game, you manage to tame Kelvin De Bruyne to intercept his passes, get Haaland out of the game as Gabriel Saliba did against City at Etihad. We can definitely get results because if you're looking at up front, Ahmad is very sharp with the ball, same as Garnacho. They can create something out of nothing. The only problem is can we stop their balls? Can we intercept their passes? Because we've been struggling. We've conceded more shots than any side apart from Sheffield in the league this season. Can we stop their shots? How many of those shots can we stop? Which players are going to be in our centre back? How free is Foden and Haaland going to be? Because if Foden is that free, Haaland is that free. No one is marking Haaland. Definitely, we're gonna concede a lot of goals because the passes from Kevin De Bruyne, you cannot stop Kevin De Bruyne from doing what he does the most. But if you stop those people that get the passes that he gives Haaland and Foden, obviously we can get something from the game. But if we leave Foden to just run about the way he does, Haaland to just put in the balls the way he does, we're definitely gonna struggle.
Yeah, if you also look, the City's attack this season has been mainly all Foden. You know what I mean? It hasn't been that amazing. So we need to shut down like the playmakers and like you said, Haaland as well. And then hopefully could stop them from scoring a goal, and then hopefully we can score 1 or 2 goals on the break with technical players like Ahmad on the pitch or I would start Ahmad. Yeah, I would love. He needs to start Ahmad because he's Man City's a technical team, and we need technical players in there. And I think he's our most technical forward. I wouldn't start Højlund. I think he's more effective coming off the bench. But if he starts Højlund, I don't think it's an issue. I think personally I wouldn't, but I would see why he would. I think he's better coming off the bench, and he also has he's also pretty quick and he runs a lot and presses very well. So we got to give ourselves the best chance. Start Garnacho, and then maybe bring Rashford on or something like that so we can give him some pace. We just have to make the right subs, manage the game correctly, and hopefully, if we lose, we don't get spanked or we don't get embarrassed. That's where we at right now, unfortunately.
I just hope we don't concede more than 3 goals tomorrow. I hope we don't concede more than 3 goals. If we're going to lose, let's lose maybe by just 1 goal to nil or maybe 2-1 or something like that, just like last season. But we shouldn't concede like 4 or 5 goals as City can do. We all know what City is capable of. If they get the day, we allow them to play and dominate like they did to Real Madrid, we definitely concede a lot of goals.
No, of course. I think it's going to be an emotional day, especially on the United side. Hopefully, Ten Hag has a real good locker room speech. Nobody believes in us. Nobody thinks this could happen. Goodbye once more, boys. Something once more into the breach type speech for them, and they come out firing. Tactics are obviously something that's important, but I'm not sure that's going to matter tomorrow. I think they're going to have to go in there and just decide that they want to fight for pride, and if they can do that, then maybe we can get a result. But I don't know. I don't have any say on what the starting lineup's going to be or who should play. Yes, Wan-Bissaka has trouble with the shifty players like Foden, but he can handle the quicker players like Doku. Who's going to play 6? Who's going to play where? I just hope that we go out and we look like we have fight in us, and we treat this. And the one thing I will say, and with all that's been going on, and there's rumors that Ten Hag was told, after the Arsenal match that he wasn't being kept, and he's been kind of quiet about it. And there's a lot of stuff going out there, and I think Ten Hag has been professional about it. He's never been like, oh, I think things are going wrong, or I want them to back me, or anything like that. He's just said, look, the results aren't great. We've had a lot of injuries. I think it's common sense to see that, but the results aren't good enough, and that's the problem. and he's never shied away from that. And I'm hoping that like he goes out there and he gives some crazy General Patton type speech and fires up the troops, and they go out and, you know, a lot of United players are playing there. They probably know they're not going to be there next year, or they're going to be phased out in the near future. They're not part of the future plans. So I hope they go out and they kind of.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I was going to say
exactly. They go out on a high note. You know, they don't go
and
out
the manager too.
No, of course, but you know, I don't think Ten Hag is acting that way at all. I don't think he's moving that way where he's like, you know, taking his ball and going home type of thing. I think he's like, look, I want to win this match. We started a job, let's finish it. And hopefully, you know, the whole club can share that, and the whole team, the squad can share that tomorrow. And, you know, we can get that W, you know, however it goes, whether it's we scam a victory, we get a penalty, or we win in penalties, or, you know, they get a red card. I don't care, whatever. I just want to win this trophy. And then, you know, we had a better season than Liverpool. We had a better season than Arsenal. We had a better season than Spurs. We had a better season than Chelsea. Went out with an FA Cup, and then Ineos changed their minds, and Ten Hag can stay for one more season. I'm just joking.
and then London is red, but Manchester red, not Arsenal red. Hey.
It's all red.
You going to the game, Mo? Right? You're going to the game?
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow.
Nice, man. Enjoy it, and hopefully, man, best of luck, man. Hopefully you get out there with a W. You know, hopefully we don't concede in the first 13 seconds like last year.
I mean, what are the chances that'll happen twice? We knock on some wood or something here, because
they don't have Gundogan and we don't have De Gea, so let's just hope, you know.
As long as Lindelof is not on that left side getting bullied.
Yeah, but they still got the Kevin De Bruyne, so
that's true. And they got Foden. They got a fire Foden. So
yeah, he's been killing it. I mean, they're arguably best team in Europe. I know they lost to Real Madrid. I feel like they were the better side, but Real Madrid does what Real Madrid does. But it's kind of been a down year for them, if that makes sense. You know, even though they're on, you know, pace for the double, like they started very slow, and, you know, they haven't been as inevitable.
Yeah, they've had some injuries
last 2 years.
They've had some injuries as well. Do not forget they've struggled with Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland being off for some time. So like it's been quite difficult start for them as well.
I mean, they still won the league. They're still in the FA Cup final. Yeah. Like that's where we need to be. Where a bad year is possibly doing the double. I think that's let's
end the season in a high, man. Like let's you know, we're behind the team. Like despite everything, we're behind the team. You know, and hopefully they feed off that and you know, actually put in a performance that we can say, all right, you know, at least we're proud of you guys. You know, like nothing like we have seen all season, because it's been a disgrace from the players to the manager to everything. It's just been a complete disgrace, and hopefully they look at it as like, okay, we got to make it right. You know what I mean? And as long as you put in the best performance you can get, and City don't, you know, annihilate us or 70% possession, you know what I mean? 80% possession them, 20% possession us. As long as we go toe to toe and we compete, then you know, we can be at least somewhat proud of this team, and then say goodbye to the players, say goodbye to the manager, and hopefully next season start anew with better players, hopefully a better structure, number one, you know, better manager, whether he stays or not, but I think he's going. And yeah, and keep going, man, because I don't want City to win another league, man. I'm tired of it, and it sucks because they broke records, and we're here breaking records, being the worst, you know what I mean, being the worst side ever to finish in the Premier League and stuff like that, you know. So I want to be able to compete, and I want to stop City, and the best way we can do that is by winning the cup tomorrow, number one, and hopefully next season we you know, we get the recruitment right and get the right people in, and yeah, man, let's go again.
Yeah, I don't care if it's 80-20 possession as long as we win, you know.
Yeah, but if it's 80-20 and we lose, that's what I meant, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I feel you.
Yeah. But if we win, I don't even care either. I'll be like, you know. But if
95-5, 1-0, let's go. Let's go.
But if it's like 80-20 and we lose, and I'll be like, you know what I mean? Like, at least give something to like.
No, I just like you said, just leave it all on the field, leave it all on the pitch. Sorry, I know we.
Yeah, I'm gonna mulligan tomorrow. Watches. I'm gonna go early. So yeah, it's gonna be packed. But you know, I'm there, man. I'm there. I'm just supporting, and hopefully we get this cup, man.
We'll see. But yeah, listen, it's been a long stream. I think we can end it here. Hour and a half. I want to say thank you again for coming on, Mo. Appreciate you staying up late and participating.
It's always a pleasure to have me here. Always a pleasure, bro.
Yeah, and Kevin as well. Appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime, man. I love talking about United, even though we don't agree on things. But that's the beauty of it, right? Like
That's the beauty of it, exactly.
No, you don't always
like,
have to agree. You don't
of
always have
course,
to agree.
and it was a good show, man. It was a good. We had a lot of good topics, a lot of good back and forth. So yeah, thanks for having me, man. And let's do it again. Hopefully next week. Hopefully with the W and a cup.
Yeah, for sure. And let's try to do it more often because the summer there's always news. There's always transfer news and stuff like that. And obviously some stuff is about to go down. Whatever it is.
When the new manager gets announced, when the new manager gets announced, we gotta definitely make go live for that. Hopefully it's the Zerbi, you never know. You never know, hopefully. But regardless of who it is, we gotta discuss.
Zerbi, no. Do not bring the Zerbi, not now.
I don't think it's gonna be him either, but it's who knows.
Who knows?
But either way, like listen, I'm a little upset, and this does affect how I felt positively about the club moving forward. But I'm still going to back whoever the next manager is, and I'm still going to be rooting for Manchester United, unless it's like Southgate or something. Then this is going to become a basketball channel. But
Knicks, what Knicks? Nah, hell
no. No, not Knicks. Just general sports. We'll see. But I might be the first founding member of Ineos out when the
dude. There's already Ineos out there. There's already people saying Ineos out.
No, I believe that. I mean, listen, it's been a rough couple days, so a lot of people are backing the manager, and a lot of people are not. Whichever side you're on, it looks like things are going to change, and we'll be back to talk about this, in the future. But thanks, fellas. Gonna call it from there.
For sure, man. Yo, take care, guys.